Criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Josh Ritter joins us now here on the latest in this case. Josh, we appreciate you joining us. Bryan Kohberger and his team are back in court right now, as we just saw. Walk us through what the defense is challenging and asking for, and be very specific for our viewers. We are all locked into this.
Sure. So, the defense realizes that the entire linchpin of the prosecution's case is that genetic material that was found at the scene of the crime. There was a DNA profile that was collected from a knife sheath that was at the murder scene. In fact, in the bedroom underneath one of the victims. And that profile has, by way of IgG, been tracked down to Bryan Kohberger. And so with that evidence, there's really not much that the defense can do here. So they have two avenues that they can go about this. They can either find a innocent explanation for why their client's DNA ended up on that knife sheath at the crime scene, or they can attack the collection of that and the warrants that were used in doing that. And that's what they're trying to do here. They're trying to say that this use of genetic genealogy is somehow abusive of the Fourth Amendment, that it's somehow abusive of his privacy and constitutional rights. Problem is, the court is skeptical of that because really whatever privacy concerns there might be in this genetic genealogy, it has to do with the people who have voluntarily placed their genetic profile online. It doesn't have to do with the privacy rights of Bryan Kohberger, and that's really where the problem lies.
Very interesting. We are looking, as we're having this conversation, we're looking live inside the courtroom there in Boise, Idaho. We also know that one of the girl's fathers said this morning that the DNA of Kohberger was also under his daughter's fingernails, and he said he understands the defense trying this last-ditch effort, but he just talked about what his family has been through throughout this entire process, how excruciating this has been emotionally. Can you give us some more background on the investigative genetic genealogy, how it was used in this case, and if you have anything more on the evidence? Because we know this is not the only case that this technology is used in.
No, it's not. And I'm glad that you point that out. It's been around for a while. It's been around for a couple of decades. What's new now is that there is so much more genetic information online than there was in the past. Basically, what happens is when investigators collect DNA profile from a crime scene, they'll run that through known profiles. And usually those are people who have either committed a felony, gone to prison for whatever reason, their genetic profile is in the system. Now, because of things that we have online where people are voluntarily giving their own genetic material, trying to figure out their own genealogy, there's so much more available to them. So if they don't get a direct match from that profile, they'll run it through a system and it will allow them to understand who might be relatives, and they can create a family tree from that and narrow down their suspects from that, which is what they did in this case. They were able to track down that genetic material found at the crime scene to family members of Kohberger, which then made him their prime suspect, which then allowed them to secure other warrants, which then allowed them to actually make an arrest where they did get a direct, which we call a buccal swab, or a direct genetic material from Kohberger that has matched the knife sheath. So it's not that they're still going off of this IgG at trial. They have a direct match. It was just that the IgG was used in order to lead them towards Kohberger.
Got it. All right. Well, Josh, thank you so much for that insight and that additional context. We're going to continue to keep an eye on the courtroom and see how the judge rules in this step in the case. We appreciate you again, and we will, I'm sure, be checking back with you later. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely.